Welcome back to NTheRealestWay podcast by Marqes Smith, where we talk about so many topics in the realest way. On this podcast episode, I want to talk about the importance of you could be that person and how sometimes we forget, like I said before, how much we impact not only our lives, but the people around us too. I was watching a video of James Baldwin, and he was talking about how you could be that person. And sometimes we forget that due to circumstances in life and how people go through different things, we could be the person who did that. If we were pushed to an environment or in a way to where we had to be that kind of person. So it's important that we give grace. And when people say give grace, we don't mean do not hold them from being accountable. We just mean that to understand that we all go through life in different ways. It's not an excuse to those people, for those people. It's important to understand that when giving grace, it's not about allowing what they did to just go and it didn't mean anything. It just is to understand that as people, we are people too. And we make mistakes and we go through life in different ways that sometimes we need to be given grace. And I want to talk about both sides of being that person. And I want to start off on this side of you could be that person. I know that there are plenty of people throughout my entire life in my current version of who I am that could raise their hand right now and say, yes, Marqes is that person. Marqes is that person who sometimes is rude and disrespectful, sometimes can say mean things and hurtful things. Throughout my entire life, I've been that person. I've been the person that people said, oh, let's not talk to him right now. He looks a little upset. He might, take it out on us. I've been that person. I've been that person where I didn't like how certain people were not on the level I wanted them to be. So I decided to act a certain way. They can achieve something, so let me be rude to them. I've been that person. So it's important to understand that you could be that person. In life, it's all about self-reflection, looking inward to look outward, to look at yourself first and then to look at other people. Because when you look at yourself, you can understand, hey, maybe actually, you know what? Maybe it was me. Maybe I was the person that I didn't think of it that way. There is plenty of times right now when, and I love this. I love in the moment where I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna take it. I'm gonna receive what these people are telling me, because looking outward as in who they are and what they see, I can look inward. And it's important to not let other people's influence and how they feel about you control you. But it's always a good thing to understand how people feel about you. I love it. I love when people say, you know what? No, I want you to say exactly how you feel about me, because it is a reflection of who I am in some way. I could be that person in your life. And I want to understand how I am that person in your life in order to understand myself more. So when talking about you could be that person, it is most definitely used in a negative connotation. You definitely could be that person who nobody likes. But you also could be that person who heals, who wants to connect people, who's doing something with a purpose and with love and with intention. You could be that person. And it doesn't have to be all the time throwing flowers and sunshine. It's rainbows. It's, oh my God, it's so amazing, right? It doesn't have to be that way. Your definition of positivity could be different than somebody's definition of positivity. Your definition of positivity could just be you being calm, not saying anything, having time and, just staying in your universe, your world. Everybody's, and that's important to understand, that everybody's definition of life is not your life. And I remember this time when I was in high school, one of my friends lost somebody that they cared about, right? And another one of my friends, they didn't quite understand that this is how you feel, right? If you lost somebody in your life, you're saying right now to everybody outwardly in public, which is something that you shouldn't do. I would have been over it. I would have been healed from it. That's you. And you have to understand how you could be that person who is actually impacting and hurting somebody that you care about. You have to understand that just because you feel a certain way and that you would have been over something like that doesn't mean that anybody else would or that they would. You have to understand you could be that person who hurted somebody. You could be the person who added pain. But you also could be the person who took away that pain, who helped alleviate that pain. I'm not saying you're going to be the source and the savior of that person's life, but you can add some sunshine to their life. You can add some happiness into their life. There has been plenty of times when I've come into people's life with love and with joy and with positivity, and that sparked something in them. It sparked something and it moved them to become a different person, a better person. I'm not saying I was the one to make the change, but I'm saying I was the person who decided to come into their life and say, hey, it's not all darkness. It's not all sadness. You know, maybe so what if those people don't understand you? They don't understand your style. They don't understand why you say some of the things that you say. It's okay. It's okay it's okay. And that's the important thing. Even if y'all just speak for one time and you never speak again, you could be that person who makes somebody's day. You could be that person. And I had to get out my comfort zone. There's been plenty of times when like, okay, I'm this person, right? I'm this person who everybody's like, oh my goodness, Marquise is so full of love and joy and positivity when I'm comfortable. When I'm somewhere I'm safe, when I'm out by myself and I'm with people I don't really know them, I get a little in my shell, right? I'm like a crab, right? And every time you poke at me, I might pinch at you a little bit. I'm in my shell, but I might pull a claw. I might pinch you. You know, that's how I am, and I have to understand that I could be that person. I need to I have to get out of that part of me where it's like I don't want to be hurt, and I don't, you know, like. Be free and be life and be love. Okay. I had to like, when it comes to, I realize this and I just now realized it, right? Of how in terms of like going out in general of fun, I only went out with other people, right? I never went out and was like, hey, let me go have a little walk in the park and, you know, have leisure time. The only time that I had control over myself in my life and when I decided that I wanted to do something was strictly to achieve a goal. Like, I know that every weekend or every day close to the weekend, I'm making a podcast episode. I know that. So I'm already initiating that. I'm already executing that in my mind, right? I know it's going to happen and I know I'm going to do it. I know I'm going to do it. But when it comes to fun and doing something to make myself happy, and of course, this podcast makes me happy, but I'm talking about in terms of like rest and like peace and self-care time. I never was the person internally myself to say, hey, you know, I want to go to the park today. Or I want to go out and socialize and, you know, go to a party. There was an event that was going on today. And the fact that I was going to get mail. The fact that I was, and this is so crazy, right? People's not going to believe this. The fact that I was so frantically, of course, like I was running for another reason. Like I was just trying to hurry up and get there and, you know, get out of there. But when I seen that gathering right beside where the post office was, I ran. And I was so frantic because I didn't want to be there. I find myself, because I'm not comfortable, right? And I had to understand that when I made those podcast episodes about being comfortable, being uncomfortable, being comfortable, being successful, I had to apply that to my entire life, right? I had to apply that to my entire life. I am not comfortable in terms of socializing and going out and making friends and doing things that I want to do because I don't know that part of myself. I don't know it, you know, and every time I found enjoyment out of something, I had to make it, I guess, business wise. Does that make sense? Like, I found this podcast so amazing in the beginning, just talking about stuff. Now it's become something that is more professional, and that's not in a bad way, but I'm saying that I have to have a connection and a separation of my work in terms of work and having fun, and that some things don't have to be work, and you don't have to make them work. You could be that person. I was that person who didn't want to socialize with people unless I actually knew them. I was that person who somebody out there in their life right now could use a part of who I am right now. I could be that person. So, and it's so important to have a self-reflection throughout your entire day. Hey, how was my life every day? And I'm getting better at it every day. I'm understanding it more and more, how I understand what's going on in my life, and it could be chaotic, and I can decide this is the last time in this day that it's going to be chaotic, right? I can choose to breathe and just understand that right where I am right now, it's okay. It's okay to be right where I am right now. Give yourself clarity, understanding, and peace. You don't have to walk around chaotic. You don't have to walk around so hostile and so angry. You could be the person who saved somebody's life. And that may be seeming so, I could be exaggerating right now. I don't care how it looks to anybody. But I want somebody out there to understand that you could be that person. You could be that person to help somebody. You could be that person who connected and found a way to make this world better. And I was walking to go get my clothes from the laundry room, right? And I was thinking about one of the topics and one of the discussions I wanted to have in this podcast episode of we are all obligated to live and to care for each other. And of course, looking at it like, well, I don't have to do anything I don't want to do, right? But it's not like that. Once you're here and you want to be here and you want to love and you want to care and you want to be around people you want to be around and you want to love those people and be happy. Be happy and be free. Once you understand that, it's not going to feel like an obligation. But we're all here. We all live in this world. We all bring something to the table. I had to understand that. Everybody, no matter how diverse those people were, there were times when I was in high school where I was like, okay, I don't understand you, which means I don't like you, which is a horrible way to think, right? But at the time, I didn't know any better. I didn't understand you, so I didn't like you. So now I have to, watch myself around you. I can't, be as comfortable as I was. But once I was forced because of the environment to be around those people, I realized you're not as bad as I thought you were. You're not as bad as they thought you were. You were simply misunderstood. Nobody understood you because nobody took the time to understand you. And even if and when you understand this person, that doesn't mean you accept everything that they've done. And also, there was a conversation I was having with somebody one time about somebody in a high position, right? And how we were talking about how this person treats people. And I was saying that, yes, it's important to give them grace, right? That's the first thing that person runs to when talking about people is they give them grace. I don't remember what exactly they used all the time, but it was basically, you never know what they're going through, right? Which is understandable. We never know what anybody's going through. We give grace, right? But after that, I told them we have to understand that this is who they are too. This is a part of who they are. So yes, we give grace, but we also take them for who they are right now. I made podcast episodes meeting people where they are, right? Meeting them where they are. That's where this person is right now. you have to understand it first. And that person was mistaking that for saying that that's not okay, and that this person is exactly who they are right now, and that there's no changing it. And that was the opposite of what I'm saying. But to understand somebody, in order to say, hey, I see you for who you are, you have to be like, okay, this is who you are. This is a part of who you are. And then that's when you make a choice of, okay, now what do we do next? Now, where are we moving? So yes, you could be that person. You have to understand that, and you have to be like, okay, cool. You know? But yeah, I was I didn't even know. Like, I was supposed to make a which will be the next podcast episode, hopefully, of a special guest coming on and talking about whatever we're going to talk about, and really having a meaningful conversation with people. That's what I want this podcast in the realest way to be about: connecting people. And you know, in some way we're growing, and we're saying something that somebody is listening to, and it's triggering something in their life. You know, like, I think about it as a garden, right? And sometimes the garden that you have, somebody could be saying something, and it couldn't make any sense, right? It could literally do nothing. Like, the fertilizer they're using, the technique they're using to grow your garden, it's not working. And then maybe you listen to my podcast, and something I said that somebody else couldn't have said in another way, it actually, you know what? I understand now. And boom, it triggers you to grow. And once you become able to grow in your garden, and you're able to hold yourself, then you can go trigger somebody else to grow. You know, I think sometimes we forget how much of an impact we have in not just our lives, but the people around us, and how you could be that person that causes them to have a bad day. You could be the person who could cause that person to not be happy, to you know, like, there were times when and I love this, and I'm so thankful for my best friend that I had a while ago when I was in high school. She reminded me of myself one time when I lost myself. One of my friends, we were doing some audition for the band, right? And I got into the band and she didn't, right? And I was so happy. I was like, oh my goodness, I actually worked so hard that I got what I wanted. And I was just so ecstatic. I was happy. I was ready to just go and work more and just be diligent in my craft, right? Again, talking about how everything I do out of enjoyment, I have to make into something so serious. But then my friend, every time I mentioned my success, not in an ego way, just in a way of being happy, right? She made me feel bad because she didn't do it. And it was about her. And, oh, I didn't make it. And, oh, I didn't, you know. And I was walking with my friend to our house, and I was talking to her about it. And she was like, why do you feel bad? You did that. You achieved what you needed to achieve. And it's sad that she didn't get it. It's unfortunate that she didn't make the audition. But you did. And you shouldn't feel bad for you achieving something that you work hard to achieve. And I said, dang. She triggered me, and she caused me to grow. And it's important to understand that you could be the person on this side who could be causing people to their root to go back and to not grow. Or you could be the person on the other side saying, hey, no, it's okay to be that way. And it's okay to feel happy for your success. It's okay. You could be that person. That's what this podcast episode, that's what this is about. You could be that person. And boom, another topic already coming up in my mind. You could be that person, right? You come up to me, well, oh, I hear you're making a podcast episode. I'm thinking about doing something like that too. I'm thinking about, making YouTube videos. You could be that person, right? So boom, start doing it. It's not going to be exactly how you want it to be. It's not going to work out exactly how in anything. You want to start a business, it's not going to be perfect, right? You're going to have setbacks. You could be that person, so do it. You think the people who became successful didn't take the opportunity and take that step that they didn't know that they were going to have a full placement on. They didn't know that could be the moment that they became exactly who they are. They didn't know that. They just kept going and kept going and kept going. And eventually it sticks. Eventually they become even more successful than they already were. Because once you believe that you can do something, the success is already there. It's just incubating. It's just getting bigger and bigger. It's shining and shining and shining. And eventually it's going to just, and you're going to be there. And then you get into the point where I was watching this show. Oh my goodness, it was so good. The fall of the Usher house, right? Oh my goodness. I love a good cinema. I've said it in my mukbang I made previously. You want to watch that, you can watch that too. It was so hilarious about so many topics, so many life experiences that I had, and they were quite stuff to learn from, right? And in this Netflix film that was actually, I don't know if you would say it's a play. I didn't read the book, but I know it was from Edgar Allan Poe, right? Amazing author. And it had so many examples of life decisions, and you could I don't know what I call her consequence, right? Of like you could be that person, right? She was the person who said, hey, she was the conscious of you saying, hey, actually, this is when you can actually decide to make a different decision than what you were going to make out of hurt and out of pain, right? You could be that person. She was the consequence of what they were doing. She gave you the option. And that's what this whole thing is about. You could be the person who could be causing pain, or you could be the person that could be growth, right? And it doesn't have to look the same, right? You don't have to be an influencer. You don't have to be on the internet to become successful. You can write books. You can make art. Anything that you have a purpose and passion for could be something, and you could be that person who connects and grows somebody else and triggers somebody else to grow. Now that I think about it, and now that I'm seeing my life in a different way, I can go through it in a better way. I can see life in a different way, which means I can go through life in a better way. I can see how if I say this, even though I feel like it should be said, even though I know it shouldn't be said that way, it can be said in a different way, which actually does the opposite and does what it was supposed to do, right? Instead of saying, hey, like I always say, you're ate up, right? You're so bad, and you're so ate up, and you're so like that's what we use in the military. We use it in a way of saying you're not of the proficient of level that you should be as a soldier. You're ate up. Instead of saying that, instead of doing that, one of my NCOs told me, why don't you go that extra mile? You could be that person. You could be that person who maybe they just need somebody to talk to them and understand them. You could be that person. You could be the push that they need. You, not me. You could be the person watching this podcast. What do you want to be in your life? Who do you want to be in your life? And why do you want to be that person that you want to be? Answer the question. It doesn't have to be specific, right? You could just want to help people. So let's help people in every aspect. Not lose ourselves, right? Not lose our worth and lose our boundaries and our morals. Let's not lose that. But let's lose ourselves to helping people. Let's lose ourselves to giving that extra, hey, what's actually going on there that's making you react this way? You could be that person to change somebody's life. You could. And every time I was put in a position to lead other people, now I see how much of an impact I actually had and how much what I did affected other people and how we as a group, as a team, moved. You could be that person. You could be that person. Oh, I don't know. I feel this was a weird podcast this weekend. I don't know. I've been in a real, little ick, right? Of something like holding me and I don't know what it is. And I'm just glad that I'm still able to speak about so many things that are important to me, that are important in my life. And no matter how unsure I may be sometimes, I'm sure of my faith in God. I'm sure in my faith in being, I don't even like using the word used but I guess like used in a way to where I'm helping people and I'm causing people to become, different. So to recap this podcast episode, you could be that person. I've said it a million times. I want it to stick in your mind that if you think of life as the night sky full of stars, you could be that firework that just lights. You could be the lighter that lights their firework in the night sky, right? You could be the person who comes over there and lights their firework up and sparks them, and next thing you know, it's a chain reaction of everybody growing and healing and becoming better. Once I finished watching that film, The Fall of the Usher House, I realized the impact that I actually had in my life and in other people's lives. And no matter how insignificant I sometimes may feel, because let's be honest, sometimes we feel insignificant. Sometimes we feel like everything that we've done and what we're doing right now, it doesn't mean anything, and that's the opposite. But even in those times of feeling that way, those are the times when we should really hold on to everything that we believe in and everything that we know that we can achieve. There was plenty of times when I wasn't the person who could be that person, but somebody was that person to me. And it was a cycle and of little things pushing me towards the person that I am right now. You can decide to be the person who hurts people, who chooses to misunderstand people, or you can be the person who decides to understand people and give them grace and go the extra mile that somebody else wouldn't to care for people. That doesn't mean lose yourself in terms of who you are and your boundaries, but that does mean to lose yourself in terms of who you used to be. Be that person. Be that person who wants change in your life, regardless of what it is and in anything. Be that person. One day, I'm going to have a bigger platform. I will have a bigger platform. And I'm going to speak about so many topics and so many things that need to be talked about. And I'm not perfect. I'm only an outward expression of everything that I've experienced. And I'm constantly growing and experiencing life. I may say things that may be different in the future. I may not be this person that I am right now, but I understand that, I accept it, I embrace it. Be that person for yourself too, right? I talked about in this podcast about how it impacts other people's lives, but being the person that you know that you can be, it actually removes so much weight, so much pressure off of your life, right? If you be the person that you know that you can be, the person that you want to be, other people's expectations of who you are, they dwindle away. They don't even matter anymore. So yes, be that person for other people. Be that spark that lights their night sky. But also be that person for yourself. And never lose sight of who you are in the pursuit of fame and success and wanting to achieve something. Never, please, never lose yourself. I wholeheartedly believe that everything in life is an exchange, and you give and something is taken away. You take something and something else will be given in result, right? It's a constant thing of energy and movement of life, and it just constantly, it's a balance. So continue to be that light. And if you're not that light right now, it's okay. Move towards it. You're in that dark corner. Move towards that light. Grab to it. Hold on to it. I promise you, there's so much beauty that you haven't seen yet. There's so much in life that you haven't even accomplished. Hold on and find something to hold on to. Like I say at the end of every podcast episode, I give thanks to the utmost, to the highest power, God. I'm thankful for my friends and my family. I'm thankful for the listeners and the viewers of this podcast episode and this podcast. I am truly, truly grateful. Please stay tuned for more from me. I'm going to start vlogging. I'm going to start doing more things that show life in a beautiful way. We need that, right? All throughout social media, we sometimes see things that depict life in sadness and the pain and anger. And sometimes it gets a little underbearing, right? Sometimes we can't control it, and sometimes it takes control of us. So I want to be a light that shines through all of that pain. I want to be a light that heals. Thank you for listening to this podcast episode and watching it. This is In the Realest Way podcast. Out.